So for my family and for myself, this is my life. And I'm not going to sway from it. You know, I've said it. I've been known to say it. Local 25 gave me every reason to hate them. And I'm still here.
What's Saturday? Good afternoon. I'm sitting here with Ryan Weber, who most of you know is running for president of Local 25 Ironworkers. And Dylan is kind enough to set us up with this podcast studio because it is 2026 and technology is pretty much everything. So shout out to Dylan. Thank you very much. Ryan, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the trade, and then we'll go from there.
Ryan Weber. I got started in December 3rd, 2006 out in Wisconsin, Local 8. That's when I got accepted into the school or apprenticeship program. I got originally sworn in on March 6th, 2007. It's also when I started at the Bechtel Powerhouse out there. I worked out there until my first child was born, or right before he was born. Then I transferred into Local 25, and then I've been here ever since.
So you were an apprentice for a couple of years in Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, they had a 3-year program out there. I was just over a year. I was like a year and a couple months away from punking out.
And then you came over here. Did they make you start from fresh?
Oh yeah, they made me restart everything.
Now, you didn't turn out the first time, right?
No.
So I've heard the rumors and blah, blah, blah. Do you want to talk about what happened the first time when you came to Michigan and then you got kicked out and all that shit?
Yeah, so I got brought up on some charges and I went in front of the board, and this was, so my transfer in was in 2000, got accepted in 2009. And then, so anyway, this happened in 2012. I got brought up on charges and I went in front of the board in December of 2012. And, pretty much I lost my temper in front of the board.
What, you?
Yeah, me. So I lost my temper at the board, and I said some things that they didn't really agree with. And then a couple days after that, I got a call from Jackie O telling me that I was too old school for new school ironwork, and that they were trying to wean my kind out, so they cut me loose.
All right, what'd you do after that?
After that, I had a couple of options. I had a couple of non-union companies that knew me through former union brothers that went there, that contacted me and wanted me to come there. I told them no because I wanted to try to get back in and right the wrong that was happening. And in the January of 2013 meeting, I tried going to it. I had a petition out there that somebody had started for me. It garnered over 400 signatures from members. All of our BAs were on it, Dennis included, Jimmy, Mike, everybody that was a BA in 2013. Jackie O and Pat Buck told me no, there's nothing they can do to overturn it. I was like, that's fine. So then I went ahead and the millwrights sold me a book.
How long did you last there? Because I've heard a few stories. It was a couple days. It was a week. Something about a hard hat. All sorts of things.
Well, I did one job. They wanted me to strip my hard hat of all the ironworker stickers that were on it, and I refused. They wanted me to stop eating lunch with the ironworkers, and I refused. And then I got into it with an apprentice millwright because he didn't think that my level of qualifications for rigging were to his level, and we got into it. And then eventually I just realized that I can't be a millwright. This ain't for me. So then I drug up from them, and I went and did some odds and ends. Went back, worked for my uncle building houses for a little while,
Okay.
and then you know, I did my own business for a little while to make money. At the time, I had kids and
We've all tried that.
yeah, so I mean, it was successful enough for me to keep the roof over my head and, keep food in my kids' mouth and stuff like that. I could have kept going with that, but I didn't want to.
Not the same as you.
No. And then um when the international left and appointed Mike Randick as our business manager, Mike had called me because Mike had always kept in contact with me throughout the almost 2 years I was out. And he's like, "Hey, come down to the hall. I want to talk to you." Drove down there. He's like, "Do you want to get back in?" I said, "Mike, I've been waiting." I said, "I don't care what I got to do to get back in. I just want to get back in." And he was like, "Well, how much time did you have in?" I said, "Between local 8 and local 25, I had over 5 years, because it, you know, December of '06 to getting kicked out in January of 12 or December of 12, that's 6 years straight."
Yeah.
But
That's 2 locals, right?
yeah, that's
Okay.
2 locals. And so, he gave me a little bit of a test to make sure that I still knew how to do what I was doing. And then I was back at it.
Randick helped you get back in, but Dennis would have to sign off of that, right?
No, he's not with the business manager allowing you back in.
Okay. So you said that there was a petition for you to get you back in and all that, and other people said no. But you said Dennis was trying to help you get back in as well at that time, right?
Yeah, he was the first signature on the petition.
So you don't have a problem with Dennis person.
No, I didn't. My thing is that after I got back in, Dennis pretty much made it clear that he didn't want me back.
I don't really want to get too much into that stuff right now. I'm just still trying to kind of learn about you and then you and Dennis and all that. So you got, what's that make? How many years total? Even subtracting the little year or so off, how long have you been in iron?
Well, it's been 11 years since I got reinstated, plus the 6, so 17.
Do you know there's a lot of people that never really see you at the hall, and there's a lot of people, myself included,
Yeah.
Because I haven't not told you how I feel about shit either. There's a lot of people who haven't ever seen you really in the hall unless it's a vote day or something like that. And your lack of involvement is kind of a thing people do talk about.
My lack of involvement in the hall was strictly because if anybody were to know me beforehand when I was in local 8 or when I was young into local 25, I was at everything. But then my oldest boy, he's 17 now. He got involved in sports, and I started coaching. So for me, all of my time post work was wrapped up into my 2 boys, whether it was coaching them, getting them to games, getting them to practices, getting them to wherever they needed to go. Um, my oldest and I, he he's lived with me pretty much his whole entire life.
Jaden, right?
Jaden, yeah. So, um, you know, when there's no fallback, you got to be the only person to do everything. I mean, you got to step up, and I've always believed that family is far more important, especially the one that you're raising.
I completely get that. Now, you've had full custody of Jaden for pretty much since he was, what, 2?
I always had 50-50 with him and his mom. And then around the age of 5 or 6 is when I got full custody of him. But, he was with me more times than not for the majority of the time.
My question is, you decided to run for president, what was like last summer, I think, when you started talking about it?
I've actually been talking about it for about a year and a half with certain individuals. And actually, I started talking about it with people who weren't even in ironwork. I was just talking to close family and friends that have nothing to do with it because I wanted to kind of vent it out there.
Yeah.
And then once I was, firm in what I wanted to do, that's when I started talking to the memberships about it.
What made you decide to shoot for presidency? I mean, it seems like I know you're in ironwork and we all got our egos.
I want to be involved in everything that goes on in this local as much as I can be when it comes to my position if I get elected. But also I truly believe that there has been it's been too long since there's been any kind of change.
Can you tell me a couple things that you like that Dennis does or has done?
Well, I like the fact that he got our pay rate in the last negotiation across the board for everybody.
Yeah, I got to
I do
engineer that
believe,
as well.
yeah, I do believe that, no matter where you're at in the state or what facet of the trade that you're doing, you're still an iron worker, and you should be paid as such.
Absolutely.
Um, he is involved in just about everything that the hall does, and yeah, he's supposed to, but I also feel like he goes he goes a little bit above his where he's at,
What he's
because
required.
what he's
Yeah.
required to do. So that's a good thing.
So if you were to win, what is, one or two things that is like a real focus point for you? Because
One thing I really want is, while our pension is anything but 80% and growing, which is green status, um, we end the reciprocity for our boomers. Um, we have 3,000 roughly members that we have to take care of. Um, and I've done the math, and for every 100 ironworker boomers that are in our state, and I know there's not that right now, but this is why this is the perfect time to change it when there's not a lot of boomers. Um, for every 100 ironworker boomers that are in our state working 40 hours a week for a year, that's over $3 million in of pension money that goes to their home. And I know a lot of boomers come here for our package, and I don't blame them. But when we are struggling, and I feel like a lot of people in the hall and in the membership have pretty much just written off the pension. Like, we have our defined contribution, and that should be good enough for you. You should be accepting of that. But I feel like if there's a way to fix something, you go fix it. There's not a problem that can't be solved. So I feel like if at our peak, a few years ago, we were over 300 boomers in our state, and mind you, this is just on 40 hours.
that was with like Lake Warrior and
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And if we do get those five, um, and I know two of them are already going, but those five data centers,
Yeah.
Two of them have already broken ground.
Big thing.
That's a big thing. That's going to require a lot of people. I mean, it's going to require a couple hundred iron workers probably on each site.
I know even Sterling's talking about some of just
Yeah.
for example. They need 60 guys, I think, by like June, July, some shit
Yeah.
like that is what I heard. So work is getting ready to
Yeah,
skyrocket again.
and what happens? That's why we need to change it now. I mean, I got the number right here. So the number is $3,945,760 for every 100 boomers in the state working 40 hours a week for a year.
Now that's keeping their money, that whatever, I don't
Yes.
know, like the $20 an hour or whatever.
$18.97.
Okay, so that's keeping that $18.97 of theirs and putting it into our fund.
Well, correct. And then once we get to 80% and growing, and we have to hit a certain number, a certain percentage before we can make lucrative changes. But once we hit that percentage, you can change the reciprocity back. The international doesn't control our reciprocity. They leave that up to all of the individual locals to decide for themselves. So if we do that, and then we get to where we need to be, we get back to our green status, we can end that reciprocity ban, and we can start making small adjustments to our pension so that way we do not wind up doing this to future generations again. And that DC plan, I mean, that's all stock market based. Its only value is its cash asset value.
Yep.
So if the stocks tank, you might be looking at 200,000 right now, but stocks tank now, all of a sudden you're looking at 30, 40 grand.
Like COVID
There's a big difference, and a lot of people just look at the big number. They don't see the cash value, and that's the only thing that you're really guaranteed in life, or in that DC plan, is that cash value. So you have to be able to have something in case the bottom falls out of the market and everything else. I mean, you can't retire on hope.
It has a lot to understand. And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be like a
No, yeah.
dick, but have you called any of them, try to get a sit down and like really kind of see how things flow through here?
I've talked to a couple of trustees, and I've tried to, and every one of the trustees tells me that they can't talk to me until after nomination night. Everybody that I've tried to talk to about it, they won't talk to me until after nomination night. And I even tell them that this isn't a presidential thing. This isn't, this is just a question that I have. I've done the math. I've sat down. I've thought about it. I actually brought this up to Jack O'Donnell in 2012 before all the shit happened in April of 2012. I sat down and talked to Jack O'Donnell about it when he was out on a job site that I was on. And he told me the reason why he would not end reciprocity is because the boomers wouldn't come when we needed them. And I said, they will come for our package.
You're okay. So I just want to clarify because I know what you're saying about how we talk to apprentices and it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. You don't need to worry about it. But you're not, in the fairness of like transparency and shit, you're not saying to keep it from boomers. You're saying to change it now. So if, say, in August, a data center in Flint pops up, these guys are well aware because you got 6 months, that this is what's going to happen when you come. Okay. Because I know that's not what you meant, but it almost did sound like you were trying to hide it from them.
No, no, I was just saying, I was trying to say, like, before they show up, if you know what I mean, if you change it, that way they know you're not going to change it when there's 200-300 people here.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's shitty.
People are going to be pissed.
Right. So, and then, another thing that I wanted to really push is, we still own our old hall location in Detroit, the land.
Yep.
So I would love to build some sort of a parking structure or something with some residual income that comes from it, and then use those new funds, allocated new funds, and we use it for the work assessment, dues to help put some money back in members' pockets from our vacation checks and stuff like that. Just try to make that residual income to help alleviate some of the burden that is on the members.
Yeah, I mean, most members, I think, and because you've been running work for B&A for what, 3 years?
3 years.
3 years now, and then you were with Sterling for quite a long time, right?
And then I ran work for Foundation for a little while before I came to B&A, and I've bounced around. I've worked for Bristol, Armello, Midwest. It's the nature of the beast.
It is. But I know your thing you said that kind of made some people laugh, pissed some people off was
it's time for an iron worker to lead the ironworkers.
And I think some guys loved it. Like, it was funny. Yeah. But I also think it kind of discredits Dennis a little because at one point, he was an iron worker, and being the president of ironworkers, yes, you need to be an iron worker, but it is a business mentality as well.
It is, but you have to find that happy median, and you still have to represent your membership. You're there for the membership. You know what I mean? And like I said earlier, I just feel like he's not as connected to the membership out in the field anymore as he used to be. And that's not a slight on him. That's just because he's been in that office for too long.
Have you called Dennis? Like, have you had a chance to, since announcing what you want to do, have you had the chance to talk to Dennis and say, hey, look, blah, blah, blah. And if you win or lose, if you lose, the ideas that you have and the things you'd like to see change, would you call Dennis up or have a conversation with him or the powers that be about trying to still achieve those even if you lose?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to stop trying to work for the hall or for the membership. And yeah, these ideas are the ones I'm running on. Along with a couple other things that I would love to see change to help, the membership out and the future generations of this trade. But, I'm not going to stop trying to push for them.
Right.
It's a matter of, it's mostly just a matter of trying to be able to break down that barrier that seems to feel like is at the hall where, like it's hard to get through to some, people. And if the idea is out there and more people are talking about it, more people like it, and more people, run with it and bring it to the hall's attention, regardless win or lose, or draw between Dennis and I mean, eventually the membership voices have to be heard. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So, and that's pretty much what it is. I'm still going to advocate for what I want, and if I don't win this run, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop.
Being in the union is supposed to give I and the next guy, it could be a guy 2 months out of punk school, the ability to go run for office.
I feel like personally, this is just a personal opinion. I don't feel like that you should, run for anything until you have at least 10 years in. That's just my opinion, because I feel like, if you're fresh out of punk school and then you get an office spot, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. And so it's like at least after 10 years, that's a decade. You spent your time out in the field, you've hopefully dabbled in everything. Like me, I mean, I've done every aspect of this trade. I've tied rods, I've done ornamental, I've done pre-engineered, I've done structural, you know what I mean? I've done wind farms. I've done every aspect of this trade because I wanted to. I wanted to be well rounded. I mean, the last time I did rods, it was a while ago. You know what I mean? It was about 9 years ago. But I did a bridge deck, and I don't mind it. I don't mind ever doing whatever is asked of me from this hall,
That's a
or
job.
it's a job. It's my life. It's been my life. It's been the only it's not the only thing. It's been 90% of the only thing that's ever put food in my oldest son's mouth, and it's 100% of the only thing that's ever put food in my younger son's mouth. Because he's 11. I got in right after he was born. And or right back in, because I still want to do this because I love the trade. When I did get booted out um back in January of 13, you know, my old local 8, I have friends over there, and I've talked to them, and they wanted me to come back. They're like, just come back here. You got this. I
Right.
still have connections out there. I mean, I just talked to one guy a couple days ago from local 8 who was we worked together out in the field, and then he got elected into the offices, and he just retired. But he's like, dude, just come back over here. He's like, you still got connections over here. You still got a good name over here, and I haven't been there since 2008, 9. Right before my son was born. So it's like, if I still carry that kind of a good name out there, people still remember me. And I know that I'm known around here for two things: working hard and my attitude.
I was wondering if you
Yeah.
were throwing
Oh
attitude in
yeah.
there because I
Oh
was
yeah.
if you weren't.
No, I will. I will. I'll own everything. You know what I mean? I own everything, all my flaws and everything I've ever done. I'm not perfect. Ain't nobody on here perfect. You know what I mean? Um, but I do stand on my convictions, and I do stand on, where I am. And everything I've ever said to somebody, I meant it. And I'll say it to them again. You know what I mean? If I meant it, if I still mean it.
Right.
You know what I mean? There are some people, obviously there are people that I haven't gotten along with out in the field, and then, you make amends and you get over it. Yeah, you are one of them. I can't stand working with you, but
Yeah, well,
I
at
don't
least we're in
mind it.
mutual
Yeah.
agreement. Yeah. I'm curious why you asked me to do this rather than the mountains of other people you know.
I didn't want somebody to interview me that I'm like super close to, because I want somebody that's going to ask difficult questions. I don't want to just get cookie cutter questions asked of me. You know what I mean? Um, I don't mind it. Like I said, I like to own my shit. I know that you'll ask me questions that I'm not comfortable answering, and that's fine. I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like,
So if I got a doll and showed you,
yeah,
tell me about the
where
doll.
you heard him. I want as open transparency as possible, and everybody knows that you're known for running your mouth. So I figured, why not have somebody that likes to run their mouth,
I think he was laughing
interview
back
me?
at
Yeah,
you.
he was. Yep, there's nothing wrong with that.
Look on here because
I'm kind of retarded.
Hey, let's throw that in. Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm not disagreeing, but uh, where's the soundboard?
Mm.
Oh, no, it sounds good. I like it. I hope you.
Oh yeah, the bitch.
I feel personally attacked, but that's fine. Normally, the host is the guy taking care of going ridicule. Can't fucking win anywhere. All right, so I did have a question with the assistant BA thing, and I want to say before I ask you personally, I think the idea of it is not bad. Having a floater BA kind of, uh, I think it was submitted at a bad time. Um, but I think even with, and I'm glad they're keeping the rigging spot. I would like to see maybe they use the rigging spot as more of a rigger BA and maybe a structural to pick up on some of these big areas because there are areas like Ben's area is huge, dude.
Yeah,
And with the data centers and everything, that's going to be a lot for one person to take on. So I'm kind of curious what you thought about the bylaws prior to them being dropped off there.
I feel like we need to keep our specialty BAs at least until the last journeyman rigger is retired.
Legitimate rigger.
Legitimate rigger,
Okay.
because a majority of there's not that many left. All of our apprentices nowadays, they go through a full JIW program, and but it's a lot of work, and a lot of those guys need, they like having their own representation. When you're a
Absolutely.
mixed local, you need it. I mean, we still got our ROD BA and stuff like that, so why not have the rigging BA? Because they do. I mean, they do a lot of work, and there's a lot of rigging out there,
especially the barns.
Yeah, so if it were to be disbanded, I wouldn't want it to be disbanded until the last, true rigger is retired. That doesn't mean that I would want it to happen, in the future. I'm just saying if. And then for the BA assistants, I feel like if we were to go that route, because I know other locals have gone that route, they need to be elected. They don't need to be appointed by the acting president, because I feel like that's just too much of a power. When you have that much control over what, who is in position, I don't feel like anybody should be appointed unless there's a vacant seat. Now, I believe that everybody needs to be elected by the membership, unless, like I said, there's a vacant seat. But then that vacant seat is only filled until the end of the term that is provided. So the BA assistants, I wasn't in support of it at all, because our BAs work their ass off.
They do,
and a lot of them, they have so many ties in their area. They are a man that wears many hats, as they like to say. They do their work, and they do way more work than we know.
It's whooping their ass.
Yes.
Look at Ben stepping down. Rich is done. Ben, he works his ass off.
Oh, yeah.
And so it is crazy that it starts to take their tolls. And I don't think members understand it. And I think a big problem is, we were talking about transparency and guys not feeling heard. But I think, and I know you see this shit too, because we're all guilty of it in a way, but guys come to the field to work and they start bitching about you hear the fucking pension every day, dude.
Yeah.
But I think, a very large handful of those guys that bitch about it, they never pick up the phone and call any of these BAs. They never fucking go to a hall to ask questions. And, you can come to the hall, but if you go, on a Monday, you bitching at work about the pension, then you say, fuck this, I'm going to the hall. And then you go to the hall, and instead of talking to one of the agents or a trustee or whatever, you go right to the mic. That does not solve the fucking problem. You need to have a one-on-one conversation, because you're grandstanding. If you get in front of that mic and go off and scream, if you feel justified, by all means, it's there for that. But you're not going to get the answers you look. You have more results, I think, if you call an agent and say, hey, can you explain this shit to me?
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of the membership, they feel a disconnect. Like, they don't get the answers that they want anyways, no matter which way that they go. They don't hear the answers. A lot of the times they'll be like, how, because I've called agents over my years, and I've asked them questions, and some of them are straight up and honest with me, and those guys know who they are. And then there's other guys who just give you that whole, well, it's just kind of the way that it is. And it's like, that's not what people want to hear. So, a lot of people are turned off by that, and it's, the mic gives them that kind of thing to try to rally the troops, more or less.
Build support behind
them. Yeah.
Force the results you want. But the trick is, it's the results you want. Because I could ask you a question, what color's your hoodie? You might tell me it's white, but I think it's like an egg white. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it is a catch-22, because just because you call the hall and don't get the answer you want doesn't mean it's not the truth.
Yeah.
So I think the disconnect is there and the distrust is there, but the way the world is in general with politics, I think distrust is a huge thing for everyone right now.
Yeah, and a lot of people are, I don't want to say scared, but skeptical of everything that is said to them. They don't trust what they're being told, no matter what. You know what I mean? And unless you have an undying amount of respect for the person that you're talking to, you know what I mean? It raises skepticism.
I think even too much blind trust.
Yeah.
Because we all have agents that we favor. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
I live in Lapeer, so Flint is normally I call Wayne to fucking cry, bitch. I used to call him as an apprentice and fucking cry like a little bitch over stupid shit and get told, dude, man the fuck up. So we all have agents we favor, and that's just how it goes. Like I love Rooster to death. I don't really call Rooster that often. But I think kind of being skeptical of anything we're told is sometimes a good thing.
Yeah.
Because we all should take the initiative to ask more questions and learn a little bit more. Speaking of that, one thing I haven't asked about is the school. I mean, being that you've done some apprenticeship, you bought a book or two, and all that.
Yeah.
I know how you have been with apprentices. That's never a secret. Because I know when you were an apprentice, you got it. I want to say pretty bad, but you got the old school treatment. I know when I met you, unfortunately for me, that trickled over. So when it comes to how our school is, we've had a huge shift and change with the school and the instructors. And what do you think about school?
I would like to change the way that our layout of our program. I feel like the block weeks are just they're not beneficial, because going to a block week every 3 months just doesn't work. These kids forget more shit than they know, and then they miss out on a week's check and all that stuff. So I'd like to change the way that works, so that way they can get more consistent hands-on experience. We take everybody in, and I try to tell a lot of the apprentices when I first meet them, like, is this a job or a career? Because for me, like I've already said, this is my life. And too many of them say, well, this is just a job. Well, if this is just a job, you're not going to make it. You know what I mean? This has to be what you want to do. And I try not to sugarcoat anything with them, because I got in during the recession originally. And I had to fight, claw, scratch my way just to make my ends meet. Yeah. And now everybody that's been in for the last few years, even some of the new journeymen, that punked out over the course of the last big boom, they got accustomed to making all this money and then work being so good and never having to worry about nothing. But, that doesn't last forever. You know what I mean? And that's why I tried.
The last couple months, it's been pretty mellowed out.
Yes.
Guys are like, oh shit.
So, I tried telling them, like, if you're going to do this as a career, just know you got to make a name for yourself. You know what I mean? And I do try to push them. I mean, I don't play favoritism with them. If I don't like you as an apprentice, I'm not going to ride you.
As a journeyman, I can say some of the shit I thought was useless. But, a lot of the reason that we do the 50-hour weeks is all our accreditations and all the extra shit we get as a local. The Department of Labor kind of, says, hey, if you look at the millwrights and they do the one day every other week or schedule or whatever, they don't get taught as much shit as our locals.
Well,
being multifaceted.
Yeah, but there are other ironworker trades, locals that do the 1 day a week thing. I'm talking about. So I got the idea because that's exactly how it was in Local 8. And I liked it because if you're only missing a half a day or a day's worth of work, and that's fine. We did it at night over there, so I didn't miss no work to go to school, But they're a smaller local, and their teachers were also working. So, and I know that. Well, I know that we have a much larger membership and all that, and I know we built that training center. So, it would just I feel like the apprentices, for one, they don't have to worry about missing all that money once a week or once every 3 months. And then secondly, they continue to have the hands-on training throughout the whole entire time. You know what I mean? And you don't forget as much shit in a week as you do, in 3 months when it comes to the book stuff. You know what I mean? How many apprentices do we know that get thrown in front of the board for not doing homework because they forget? Or how many do you ask, when's your next school week? I'm like,
no,
I don't know. Clue. I have no idea. I'll text my group chat and find out. You know what I mean?
It turned out like the only thing we had to have was our stick, and now it's like.
No, I think we need it though. We need the wire cert welders. We need all that stuff. We need the stick welders. We need it. If anything, I think that if we want to bridge into some more of the intricate work and become more ornamental, we need to add a little bit more of the math. A little bit more math into it. I mean, it's not a hard thing
for the apprentices.
You know what I mean? And if you add algebra in, I mean, that's something that the Department of Labor really loves. For some reason, they think that algebra is a huge deal, and and yeah, it is in certain aspects, but not everything. But
Rigging.
yeah,
Plant
rigging it
work,
is.
yeah.
Yep. So, and if we want to continue to bridge into that and take over more work in there, I mean, we have to adjust. That's what that's what everything is. Is you got to times change and you got to adjust what you do. You can't just be the same old, same old. You know what I mean? Keep going with the same shit, and it's going to be great because it like anybody that spent any time out in the field, over 5 years, you'll notice a change from how it was when you got in to how it is now. The change from 2006, 2007 to 2024, 2025 is great. It's huge.
You've watched new technology and everything.
It's impressive as to how the landscape of our trade. Yeah, our trade stays the same, but the landscape changes
Yep.
constantly.
So what happens in 10 years if you win and people feel the same about you?
I would hope that somebody runs against me every time,
Just for healthy competition.
just for healthy competition, and would and like I told Mike Christensen when he came to my party in Saginaw. He asked me, he goes, "Well, how long do you feel like you should be able to sit in office before you feel disconnected?" I said, "I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't want to be the president for the rest of my career. I mean, if I get voted in, that's fine, but like, if I would love to be able to get in there, you know, implement some of my ideas, push Local 25 forward,
Dip out and be able to benefit from it.
well, no, and if somebody runs against me and beats me, and they take their ideas and they move it forward, that's all I can ask for."
Christensen came to your which was that Saginaw?
Saginaw. Yeah, because I'm having a party in every area because I want to show unity amongst all of Local 25. I got a Lansing party tonight. Um, in April, I'm going to be downriver, and I'm also
Lapeer,
and I'm going to also be on the west side in April. I'm going to go out there and do one out there. And then I'm going to do one more in, the Lapeer Flint area because the first one I had was a bunch of freezing rain and it was just, not a good day for it.
Called in.
Yeah.
I think it is good for other agents and members and everyone to mingle. Because just because I come to your thing or do this doesn't mean I support you. Because you might go to Eric's party and not necessarily support him or vice versa,
Yeah.
But I think we are supposed to be a brotherhood, bro. And I tell you, when I first started in 2000 and Ryan died in 19, so like 17 or 18. The thing that for me that struck out is the ability with my past to be somebody and have a career and provide, like you said.
Well, I can tell you right now that the brotherhood mentality has dropped significantly in 20 years.
What do you think the reason for that is?
Honestly, I feel like a lot of the members just don't feel like they're heard. And I can tell you right now that back during the bad times, solidarity was a lot higher.
Yeah, you had to stick together.
You had to stick together. During the good times, I've noticed it's a lot less because you don't have to. Work's too good. It's one of those deals, and it's like, yeah, I understand the work's good, but the brotherhood still needs to be good, and that's what and that's one thing that is definitely missing is the ability to stand up for each other. That's why I said it's time for an ironworker to lead an ironworker, because I want to stand up for the brothers and sisters that are in the field today. You know what I mean? And the ones in the future. I mean, I don't know what the future holds for my oldest son. He might get into this, he might not, but I want there to be something for him. And I want him to realize that, if he does join this, if he were to sign up for this, that the membership will have his back because he's a brother, not because he's my son, but because he's a brother.
Got that book number.
He's got a book number, and that's what it's about. I mean, the unions they showed a slight increase over the course of the last year.
Yeah.
But it's not like it used to be. It's not as prevalent, and everybody knows that when time is good, union gets good, so does non-union.
People aren't cut out for this though. People aren't cut out for the ups and downs of this life.
No, I know that, and that's the thing though, is that's why I tell all these apprentices coming in and young journeymen, you got to make a name for yourself, and you got to do it. I tell them all the time, pick one thing to be great at and be good at everything else, because that's what it's going to take. And don't be afraid of things. Don't be afraid of rods. Don't be afraid of, pre-engineered. Don't be afraid of, ornamental work or, rigging or being, conveyor hand, be able to do it all, because you that's what the bread and butter is. You're supposed to. I mean, when I was, and I'm not saying I want to enact this in local 25 or nothing like that, but like when I was in Wisconsin, we had our hour log sheet just like we did here in 25 in the apprenticeship program. But once you hit your hours in a certain aspect of the field, it made you change. It made you go to another job, and that's why I said I don't want to do that to somebody else. But it's not a bad. It's not a bad. There's good and bad to it. If you get really good at structural, and then you got to go bust rods, but it also helps you become well-rounded, and it helps you become a person where you're like, I don't have to turn down a rod job because I'm a journeyman of 12 years and I can't. I've never tied a rod before. You know what I mean? You got a little bit of experience. You should be able to do something. And I know a lot of people are like, I'll never bust rods. Why not? I mean, it's one of the bread and butters of our local. A lot of work comes out of rods, and I know a lot of rodmen, and they love it.
So you're familiar with rod?
Oh yeah, I've done rods.
You've done a lot of rod.
No, I've done my share.
Had a few in your hand.
Yeah.
I think these young guys come in and, because you're what, 40?
I'm 38.
I'm about 40. So, your generation and my generation, the way we were brought up, regardless of where you came from, solidarity and loyalty and shit like that was a little different to us. But these kids come in now and they're just there to work. They don't give a fuck about none of the politics or nothing, which sometimes is good. But I think that's a big problem too, is we've had such an influx of these young kids because, blue collar is like a trending thing.
Yeah.
But they're not coming into it. We need to be able to express to them how important the solidarity is and how important the brotherhood is supposed to be.
Yeah, and you got to preach to them to how important it is to be involved.
So I know you got a bunch of, you've had shirts made and stickers, all union made, right?
Yep.
Right, that's good. I seen your little bug on there.
Yeah, I did
that. Why'd you do that? Why'd you make sure you did it?
The bug?
Yeah.
Well, I had a couple people say something to me about the first batch of stickers that I made not having the bug, and
to be fair, your sister did do it.
Yeah. So it's one of those deals, it's like I'm not going to turn down, help from a family member.
Anything you want to say?
I really hope that the membership just goes ahead and listens to everything that is being said by everybody. And I really hope that we can have a really high voter turnout. I know there's a lot of guys out of state, they do send mail-in ballots to your house. And, if you got somebody at home, tell them,
proxy my vote.
Yeah. Just write it down. This is who I want. Send it back in, and really just be heard. There's a lot of people running for a lot of positions, and
this is going to be
this is gonna be a good election to get back involved in the hall. I've had people go with me to the hall lately that haven't been to the hall in 15, 20 years.
Interest is still interest.
Exactly.
There's always food, dude. At the bare minimum, food. You know what I mean? Go for free food. Next week we have a final reading, and then the week after, I believe, is
the 23rd.
So it's 2 weeks away. And you'll be down there, obviously, as well for that.
Yeah. Me and the guy that's going to nominate me will be down there.
So you're all lined up.
Oh yeah.
Now when it comes down to vote day, I know I was judge of election for the last RIP. I know there was a couple guys down at Novi Hall, doing the parking lot pimping. And are you planning on doing something like that just to kind of have, for when guys come in or?
Oh yeah. I'll be at the halls on election day.
What made you decide I want to do a podcast? Because normally that don't really seem like something that.
Well, because there's like I said, there's there's 3,000 some members in this local, and I don't reach out to every single one of them. This is just an easier way for me to be able to reach out to them.
And it is hard to reach everybody.
It is hard to reach everybody, and this is just an opportunity to be able to reach everybody.
Think this will be a normal recurring thing with our elections?
I can guarantee that with after Justin did his and I did mine, I guarantee you that it will become a thing. It'll be critical in the membership's eyes to see, because like you said, you can't reach everybody. I could call the hall and get an address list for everybody that's in our local and send them all a letter.
Postcard,
but it's like
guys don't know about that.
Yeah, you can call and get an address list for everybody in the local, and send them all postcards and do whatever you have to do and get your word out that way. But I'd like for people to actually hear what I have to say.
I think name to face type
type of thing
Yeah.
too is really cool.
Yeah.
And once again, shout out to our gracious host, Dylan. I don't think he's done it in quite a while, but he has had a pretty cool podcast. I believe it's called the Commuters Podcast. I've watched a couple. Justin's been on there as well. It's pretty cool to watch. For everyday guys like you and I, we just turn it on in the morning and watch it. So I hope things like this become more of a thing, and maybe even after, the elections are held, win or lose.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool to do a follow-up and have, stuff like that. I think would be to kind of continually, because I think this is a good avenue.
Yeah.
Putting that link out there, you don't got to say nothing. People can click it and listen, and then they can kind of see your face and your reactions. And,
Yeah.
I kind of like it. This is cool. I've never really done something like this. Well, one time I did with my grandpa, but there was a black couch. It was really confusing. Well,
All right.
Ryan, it's been real, bro. Thanks again, Dylan, and good luck come
Thank you.
the election.